Welcome to Bird Camp Radio, where the coveys rise from the high pines, marsh valleys, sagebrush seas, and the shelf rock ledges. Here at camp, the fire's always glowing, the dogs are never far, and the stories of birds, wild places, and the upland life are just beginning. This is Bird Camp Radio. Before we get into today's episode, I want to thank a company Rachel and I personally trust, Pet Commute. We have worked with them several times ourselves, and I can tell you firsthand, they are reliable, safe, punctual, and they give frequent transport updates. That peace of mind matters, especially when it's your dog. If you're a breeder, buyer, trainer, running field dog trials, traveling to a hunt, or honestly just need to get a pet somewhere safely, Pet Commute is a perfect fit for bird dog folks. They offer free transportation quotes, and make sure to mention Bird Camp Radio to get 10% off your pet's travel. Check the link in the show notes, our social media bios, or the comments. I highly recommend them. Welcome back, everyone, to the Bird Camp Radio podcast. I'm your host, Kellen Golightly. We're excited to be here for episode 41. Now, today we have Jamie Lawrence from Georgia, and he sent in his bio just a little bit earlier, and I'm going to read that for us real quick. Jamie Lawrence's love for hunting began as soon as he could walk. Growing up on his family's farmland in Camillo, Georgia, he and his twin brother spent nearly every free moment exploring fields, woods, and creek bottoms. They progressed from BB guns and pellet rifles to .22s, eventually sharing a single-shot 20 gauge while learning patience, safety, and responsibility. As they got older, deer hunting before and after school became part of everyday life. Jamie also developed a passion for upland hunting. Even as a wild bobwhite quail became harder to find, his family always kept hunting dogs, but everything changed when they discovered coon hunting. What began as a pastime soon turned into competing in hunts across the region with blue ticks, black and tans, and walkers. Those nights in the woods with family, friends, and good hounds became some of his most treasured memories. After college, Jamie shifted his focus to waterfowl, owning and training Labrador retrievers and other retrieving breeds. Today, his passion centers on pointing dogs. Alongside his family, he enjoys helping others develop bird dogs using a practical backyard approach that combines proven training methods, guidance from professionals, and a commitment to continual learning. Now living in Thomasville, Georgia, the heart of bobwhite quail country, Jamie enjoys hunting both private plantations and public land. Though he'll choose public ground every chance he gets, for him, finding a wild covey on public land remains one of the most rewarding and challenging pursuits in the Southeast. Throughout every stage of his life, the common thread has been family, dogs, the outdoors, and the traditions that continue to shape his passion for hunting and conservation. Jamie, we're excited to have you on. How are you doing, man?
Doing good.
Hey, we're excited to have you on to the podcast today, and quite the bio that you have, and we're excited to dig into that today with you and get to know you a little bit more and what you do within the upland game tradition, and how you got there. But before we get into that, as many of you guys know, and for the new listeners, we like to play a quick game of rapid fire around the campfire. This game consists of 10 questions. We have a leaderboard, and it is timed. So everything can be answered in one word answers, and it'll be released at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned for that. But if you don't have any questions, we can get started with that.
Give it a shot.
All right, let's do this. All right, here we go. Favorite wild bird to chase?
Canvasback.
Most challenging bird?
Canvasback.
Favorite dog trait?
Pointing.
Best bird for eating?
Quail.
Go-to field snack?
Uncrustable.
Dream hunting destination?
Alaska.
Favorite month to hunt?
January.
Game bag or vest?
Vest.
Solo hunt or with a group?
Group.
Lead or still shot?
Lead.
There we go. That's it. That's looking pretty good, man. And we'll release
You
that at the end of the podcast.
you kind of
But
hung
I
me up
agree.
on a couple of those. I thought I was ready.
I know it's every time. I mean, it always seems so simple until you get burned with questions. I mean, I need to do this for myself one of these days, and I don't even know if I could answer it. I do it every week, but it's kind of fun. But I completely agree with the Uncrustable. That's the way to go.
It's a hidden gem. I mean, you can't keep them in the pack too long, but they're
That's
good. The dogs like them too. Protein.
do they? That's awesome. I love it, man. That is awesome. I that's the first time we've heard Uncrustable on here, so I think honestly the first time we've heard January on here too is uh the favorite month to hunt. I think it's usually, of course, September, October for a lot of guys, but January is also one of those hidden gems I feel like, especially at least where I'm at here in Utah. January is great for bird hunting.
Yeah, I mean South Georgia, we don't get those September or October. I mean, our season doesn't come in for bobwhites until beginning of November. So January is kind of where it's at.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're excited to have you on. As we've already said, we've been able to go through your bio a little bit, and that's kind of what we want to touch into, and how we get to know you is through that. So, we'd just like to get started on where it all began for you. I mean, it went from coon hounds to bird dogs and BB guns to 22s. Where did it all start for you? I mean, I kind of talk about it a little bit in your bio, but kind of expounding on that. How did everything click for you in the hunting world, and how it became upland hunting in the end?
Yeah, I think. Well, as a young kid, we grew up on a farm, so we had BB guns very very young, way before they were safe. And then evaluate we go through BB guns, then pellet guns, and go over to 22s, and then me and my twin brother shared a 20 gauge single shot. And so we were put in a dove field when my dad left us in this little peanut hay blind, and that was his way of safety with two twin boys. You shoot it and then you give it to your brother. Your brother unloads it and loads it back, and he shoots it. That was a very humbling experience, but it was fun when you shot one. You didn't shoot many back then with a single shot, but kind of moved into a lot of squirrel hunting. We used 22s mainly for squirrel hunting, and would walk with my granddad a lot. We'd walk, shoot squirrels, bring them home. We cleaned them, and my grandmother, who's still alive now, 82 years old, and she would pressure cook them. And she'd pan fry them, then pressure cook them down in some gravy over some rice, and some of the best eating ever. So hunting was always in the blood. And then we got into coon hunting. We had a big the Winter Classic used to be held in Albany, Georgia, and before they moved it, and so it was a big deal to hunt in that. My granddad was a big supporter of everything we did hunting. So if we got into it, it wasn't just going to buy one dog. We bought every dog, and so a cool story about that is my granddad saved everything. He saved a newspaper clipping that he bought his first coon dog. That coon dog came on the way of train to Pelham, Georgia. And we still have that crate that dog came from. So we're talking years and years ago. That crate is still in my grandparents' attic. But he dug up this clipping and called the owner of that kennel, and drove out to get two blue tick hounds, and he came back with six, and we started a blue tick hound kennel. So at the point of the height, we probably had 15 to 20. My dad still takes care of some through those bloodlines, but all in all, that kind of shifted to go into quail hunts. We have a lot of quail plantations, put out birds around here, and then we would take my buddy's pointers out around the fields. That was back when you could find a couple of wild coveys around ag fields, and so we started doing that. So had a passion for upland hunting growing up, but did a lot more deer hunting, and then got into a bunch of duck hunting. And we have a bunch of wood duck down here, so left Camilla, went to college in Statesboro, Georgia, kept fishing and hunting, and then moved back to this region of South Georgia. And that's when really in college is when I started getting really big into upland hunting, bobwhite quail. And then, you know, throughout, the time back in South Georgia, I've been hunting a ton. And now I actually have a captain's license. I did a lot of traveling on boats. I lived on yachts in previous professions and really chased water sports more. And once I got settled here in Thomasville, married, I have a 5-year-old daughter. Now I'm doing primarily all water, all pretty much upland hunting is what I do.
That's awesome, man. I mean, quite the transition throughout life, as we all know. There's life is full of different sections. I feel like and different journeys. I got a question. So, with your twin brother, does he still hunt, or what's he doing with that?
Yeah, so he's up in McLean, Virginia. We do this together. That's the main reason we really got into upland hunting. He is a poodle pointer. And so we travel out west once a year. That's all we talk about now is training dogs and hunting. He's more in the NAVDA stuff up there, training and trialing and doing all that stuff. I'm not necessarily in that in South Georgia. I have a lot of access more to wild birds. So really don't find a lot of time for testing and getting dogs ready for the test. I really just get dogs ready to in hunting scenarios and get over birds. So that's the difference between us is he has a lot of background and we talk a lot about it. So I know a good bit about the NABDA and approach and that's a lot of fun. I don't do it much here, but yep, he's still big into it. Even in McLean, Virginia, you can have a good hunting dog that lives inside your house.
That's awesome. That's amazing that you guys still being able to do that years later down the road and doing it together. Have something to look forward to. Um, Something that really piques my interest is those coon dogs. I'm a big fan of Meat Eater with Clay Newcomb, Bear Newcomb,
Yeah.
and I mean and all the coon dogs and stuff like that. So I've been able to. I've never owned one personally. I know my stepdad. He did a lot with mountain lions and black bears here in Utah. But I didn't know him during those times. So I've always heard the stories of these dogs and kind of fun to learn about hounds. And I'm just curious of like what was like the transition for you from hound dogs, coon dogs to now upland game dogs. What's that kind of been like, and what's the difference between these?
Yeah, well, coon dogs are so much different in many ways to me. And I follow Clay and the guys, and it's funny how much crossover we have between the two sports. Like a lot of guys that upland hunt have coon dogs. Unfortunately, I live in town, so you're not going to have a coon dog in town. I would say I've got friends that have them, but they're pretty loud in the kennel, and you don't want to shut them up because you want them. I mean, that's how you find them or how we found them. So when we were doing it, we didn't have Garmin tracking devices or anything like that. I mean, we had the beep beep. I mean, the radioactive beep beep. You turn in a circle. If it starts beeping faster, that's the direction you walk to that dog. If it gets louder, you're probably closer to the dog. Besides that, I mean, when they say the tailgate drops and the bull stops, that's what a coon dog is. That's what's cool about it is so the trends, there's a lot of similarities in a dog, but training those dogs to me, a lot of it was geared around bloodline. I mean, we would get in these bloodlines on these blue tick hounds and walkers or black and tans, and it was a big deal. So you would get your UKC catalog and you'd go through it, and those catalogs had nothing but just pedigrees. And you don't see that anymore. Like you go through there and you knew those dogs' names. Our kennel was Big Slew was the first of it, but usually Big Slew Blue Smoke was a dog, and so that's what I really loved about the coon hunt world. And it's big in our upland world, but that's what it was all about was that dog winning a competition, having that Purina sign around it or whatever dog food was around UKC and PKC. But as far as the training goes, as puppies, we would try to train them not really obedience. You didn't, and that's where I get into a good bird dog. So I deal with versatile dogs at the house, but on plantations, we're dealing with kennel dogs. I have a kennel dog right now that I acquired in January, but coon dogs strategically were kennel dogs for us. I mean, you fed them, But when that gate opened or that tailgate dropped, they were hunting dogs. That's it. That was the switch, on off. And so, but when they're in the kennel, they're usually barking too. So that's probably the biggest difference. Is probably the obedient side of it. Back then, we were not obedient training. I mean, they would rip you out of the woods. We probably should go back and probably leash train some of those back in the day, but honestly, they hunted until they found them. Our land was strategically set up for competition hunts. So we had tons of coons. We fed coons. I mean, our dogs, when they got out the truck, they knew where those coons were at. I mean, it was definitely a pretty good system we had going. But getting from the coons to really, I think the biggest difference for me is the disciplinary stuff. As an upland dog or these versatile dogs, we're starting right out the womb with obedience training and gearing them, to be really good dogs. Where a coon dog, I mean, they were just ready to find coon and kill coon. I mean, that's pretty much what it was. And competitively, we didn't shoot coons. Non-competitively, we did. And a lot of the guys around South Georgia, it wasn't just a hobby for them. This was a food source. This was Saturday and Sunday night, they were getting coons and they were cooking them. I mean, that was part of, their appetite. And it still is. There's some good coon hound hunters out here right now. It's just, some of it is just the private ownership of farms. I mean, the farms have gotten smaller over the time and, people have gotten greedier. So, my dog going two farmers over wasn't the same farmer that it was 25 years ago. So I would say that's probably the difference, is the control aspect of an upland dog and, the obedience side of an upland dog and, or, the dogs that we're running. Now, on the wild bird plantations and those things and in the field trial section, it's a whole different ball game. I touched some of that, but, these guys that are doing the field trials and wild birds and those kennel dogs, it's about the same. When they get out, it's work. With us, when my dog, my dogs have to be family dogs too. They have to let my 5-year-old climb all over them. So, but that's probably the biggest difference. That's a long answer, but it's hard to sum it up.
Oh no, I get it, and I love it. I love to hear it just to see that comparison difference. What kind of dogs are you running now for the uplands?
So I have a wire-haired point and Griffon, and so in all honesty, I've never, until I got that dog, I didn't have a versatile dog. I didn't know what a versatile dog was. My labs could do a lot, but they didn't. They didn't point. Obviously, I didn't have point in the labs. So wire-haired point and Griffon, and then I have an English setter. And so the English setter came off of a plantation here that I got, and I've been training it, and it's going to be a stud dog. It's going to be great. I'm excited about it. But the reason being behind the English setter is my Griffon. I'm a foot hunter. We will get on horses at times, but I'm mainly a foot hunter in wild bird areas, so it's very hairy, especially down here, a lot of undergrowth and stuff. So my Griffon, she doesn't range very far, which I like. But now that I have this setter, I got the setter to range. So I get a little bit of distance from the setter, get a little bit more better coverage from the Griffon. So that's the two dogs. The Griffon lives inside. The setter's a kennel dog. We are a non-shedding family, and that's what I like about the Griffon. So I'm not picking up dog hair everywhere, unlike my labs and previous dogs.
Okay, I get that. That's always a good thing, especially a family dog as well. So one of the things that is different, and I always find intriguing, is here in Utah you don't see it nearly as much, but I mean here in Utah we have roughly 71% of our land is public land. So the majority of the time we're here in Utah hunting public land, and if it's not public land, it's usually we have a walk-in access program where you can hunt privately that way. Um, but so hearing about the plantation side of it and the private side in that way really is intriguing. How does that work for you, and what's the difference between hunting public lands in Georgia between than compared to your plantations?
Well, it's completely different, and that's what's hard about it. You know, you guys out west, really. I mean, I hate to say it, you wonder why people come out there is because we just don't have access
Oh,
like you do. Our mentality in the southeast now is if you touch my pine tree, you know, I'll I'll shoot you. Um, Yeah, so it's a big difference down here. We don't have a lot of public land. Well, let me take that back. Let me tell you the difference. The difference is out west, you guys have a lot of availability to public land, and walk-in access is a great thing. And I know there's a lot of scrutiny of people like myself coming out there, but we just don't have it. We don't have that Wild West approach anymore. Down here, if you touch someone's pine tree, you're probably going to get shot. I mean, it's terrible. So in Georgia, we do have some good public land hunting. A lot of it's geared more around deer hunting. There's some dove hunting, dove fields being set. You know, but in where I'm at, we really only have bobwhite quail. As far as upland, we do get some woodcock, but mainly that's on the eastern side of Georgia, and then it moves over to Alabama and Mississippi. So we're not even really in a big fly zone there. So that's what I love about it. I mean, the main difference between the two, as far as like the private land, is it's blocked. So you're having cutting there where the dogs is better for the dogs to run. You have feed programs for the quail. So your wild birds are at least getting fed. They have access to water. I mean, they have good clear cover at times for the dogs to run. Where I'm running, it's pretty gnarly, and those birds are in that. They're not going to be in the easy stuff. I tell people when we go and I take people to this public land, I'm like, listen, don't think it's out of that picture that you saw, because this is not it. If you go to a pre-release plantation that we have tons around here, which is great, I mean, it's knee high, perfect walking. You know, I mean, it is. I mean, children can do it, but where I'm going, the birds know where to go. They're going to be in that thick stuff. That's where their protection from their hawks or anything else. So it's gnarly. We do have a lot of access in Florida. There's a national forest not too far from me. So the Apalachicola National Forest has got thousands of acres. I will go dabble there. I mean, obviously their burn program isn't going to be what it is at a private place. That's the one of the largest things. That's the reason they call it the Firebird, is they're able to block manage and then manage their fire and their bird. I mean, they're birds by you know, burning and creating that undergrowth for these birds. In the national forest, you're not going to get that. It's kind of like out west. You know, there's so much land. Here, the DNR, Georgia National Resources, have done really good with the public land. And so I've actually made a challenge of myself to see how many spots I can go to. Found good birds. It's just a lot of walking. It's a lot of walking, marking coveys, tracking coveys, getting in the thick stuff. I mean, it's a lot of briars. I mean, my Griffon hates it. To be honest with you, Griffon is not natural to South Georgia. But then a setter's probably not the most ideal. Most people are going away from setters and just going straight to pointers, just English pointers and American pointers, because of the coat mainly. They're more durable down here, and it's hot all the time. But but really, our public access on public land is difficult, but it's getting better. There's a lot of resources. We're not too far from my house is Tall Timbers, so that's a great resource for us to really bring back the bobwhite quail. A lot of land management tactics are being used by Georgia DNR. It's really cool, but right down from my house, there's a new park being developed, and they've got, I don't know, a couple of hundred longleaf pines, and they're working with Tall Timbers right now and replanting wiregrass there. So they actually did a controlled burn in our city limits on that property this year. So we're the quail mecca, but finding wild birds on public land is still extremely difficult. But that's the chase. You know, that's what it's all about. So that's the biggest thing. One thing too is there's a big difference between wild bird plantations and put out birds or pre-release birds. Both of them have a position in our sport. I love both of them because the put out and pre-release. I'll name you know, a good plantation here, Southwind. I mean, Rio. Covey Rise Plantation, Riverview. There's tons of them around here. Southern Woods is one of my favorites. But you can take a youth and go out there and show them dog work and show them a bobwhite quail and show them how to use a gun. And that's what's cool about those spots. Now, the wild bird places, they're not going to be cut low to the ground. They're going to still have that cover for those birds to be protected. The walking is going to be a little bit more difficult. They're using a lot more horses to cover grounds. They're using a lot more pointers to get those acreage in that they need to. But they're doing a great job with great results and some great numbers down here with the wild birds. It's just I mean, and honestly, it's a pay to play. I mean, if you got the doe, you got the birds, and so that's the truth behind Thomasville, Georgia. And we're fortunate here. I'm fortunate to have friends that have property, but I don't. The reason I'm more into it is to try to motivate people to try the private land. I mean, the public land. Go out there and give it a shot, or if not, go and pay for those pre-release, hunts or the put-out hunts. Some people knock them, but my dogs love them. Trust me. I put my little Griffon out there, and we're gonna run circles around most dogs because it becomes easier once you've been on wild birds. Scent conditions are very heavy out there, though. That's the only thing that throws us off. We get a lot of quick points because these dogs hadn't smelled anything, that vibrant in these wild bird areas. But that's probably the biggest difference.
No, that's quite different, but unique. And like you said, it's definitely either way can be an advantage. I mean, when you're talking about the youth being able to get out there and learn more and have a good opportunity to do some hunting like that, create some memories like that. And then, of course, you have your public land if you're willing to go out there and put the miles into it and put a little bit of boot leather down on the ground, right?
Yeah,
But
and that's what it takes. That's the best advice I could give anybody is research does a lot, mapping does a lot, but boots on the ground is where it's at. That's what you're there for.
that's right. That's where I mean you can't get much done sitting on the couch. I always say that. So,
That's right.
but so that's good to know that it seems like you're kind of on a incline on when it comes to bird populations. Do you feel like during your time hunting upland game, do you feel like the bobwhite quail has maintained its population? Do you feel like it's declined, or how do you feel with that?
That's tricky. I think from my perspective, over the last 2 years, it's probably coming up some. But I think what's crazy about the bobwhite quail, and I think at all times we're probably declining. I think every day we're declining because of loss of lands being smaller, different types of agriculture going on. On the public land, we're probably gaining some because we are getting a little bit more public land. Management of land's tough. It's expensive. So like a national forest could do great down in, North Florida, but it's just the expenditures behind that, and really it's a timber production facility. And so you're going to have cuts there. And when you're cutting 30-year-old pines, it is not overnight to come back. So that's one thing. We've had good rain numbers. I've got a good friend that I quiz all the time because they're tracking. I mean, if you're putting the money into a wild bird plantation, you're tracking them. You know what you got. I mean, if you're feeding these birds, you got bird counts. I mean, your covey counts. You know how many times you're hitting coveys. I mean, it's down to a science. So those guys can give a lot of data. Tall Timbers has great data. I felt like this year's a good example. We had great rainfall. We had great covey. We had great hatching. But guess what? It got dry. And the rain goes away really quick down here, especially if you don't have holding areas or rivers or those things around your hunting land. Well, then the birds, they need water at times. I mean, they're feeding off dew and stuff, but they're really going to be water. So I found them a lot more around water. Well, then when you have the hawk migration come through, the hawks know where they're at too. So now you're congregating the birds. So the birds are in one area and the hawks can pick them off easier, or I can go and chase them off easier. It's not like I'm helping them by busting them too. But I feel like year after year, we have good years and bad years, just like you guys do out west, or or the guys down, out, we hear reports from Nebraska or Kansas, hey, it's a terrible, terrible year, we go through those same cycles. So it's not always about habitat. That the weather has a lot to do with it. We had a huge snow 2 years ago. We don't get snow, we don't get ice, but it was bad for a while. And I think that had a lot to do with our population. The birds may have survived, but the habitat didn't. And so we had a lot of moisture that was put by the snow and the ice, but we lost a lot of vegetation. And so I think through what I've learned the most about upland hunting is doing research on the bird. I think if you're going to hunt a bird, whether it's a sharp-tailed pheasant, quail, you need to spend a lot of time on that bird and what that bird does and how that bird survives. Because I'm getting better at looking at habitat and use your resources. I can call my friends and go, hey, what's going on with these birds? And they go, hey, well, you probably need to go look in this area. I'm like, well, you do it for a living. Yeah, I should probably be asking you more. But a quail's natural defense, as most people know, is not to fly. It is to cut off its endorphins and squat down and run and all these things. So that's when I get to where are the quail at? Well, they might be where I'm at, but how long ago did they leave? And so they're not going to move very far, but they're sneaky creatures. They can fool a bird dog. But the best example I'll tell people is, how come even on these put out bird places, when you shoot a bird, my Griffon is really good at finding birds. Everybody's dog's amazing, as everybody brags about their dogs. But man, it's so funny how she has a hard time, just like all of them, after they're dead. You're like, that bird's right there. Why are you not picking that bird up? Well, the bird's dead and the scent's leaving the bird. The endorphins have been cut off. You just cut that bird off from all scent stuff. So the scent's gone. So now the dog has to find it, without as much scent. A live bird has endorphins. So if they're not squatting down, they're spreading scent. And so that's where it goes back to on the quail side. If you're going to go hunt in public land, you probably shouldn't hunt in the middle of the day. I would hunt when they're leaving the roost because they're moving. You have a better chance of finding that bird because they're spreading what? Scent. And so that's the reason we hunt at certain times. A lot of it's heat driven, but a lot of it's based off food sources and the habitat that these birds are sitting in and the scent conditions.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I love it. I love to hear it because I mean, each terrain, each state's different. I mean, that's what's kind of fun is being able to learn how everybody adapts to changes to the bird, like you're saying, the dog, whether it's public or private lands. I mean, there's so many different things that go into this that make it all work at the end of the day. So that's really neat. All right, everyone. Quick shout out to our friends at Pet Commute. If you ever tried coordinating dog transport yourself, you know it's not simple. Whether it's a new pup coming home, a finished dog heading to a buyer, a field trial trip, or even, let's be honest, your wife needing her little mutt transported safely, Pet Commute handles it professionally. Rachel and I have personally transported with them, and I can confidently say they are reliable, safe, punctual, and they keep owners updated the entire trip. They offer free quotes, and if you mention Bird Camp Radio, you'll get 10% off your pet's travel. Hit the link in the show notes, comments, or our socials. One thing that I want to get into as well, kind of going on to that, is let's talk about the backyard bird dogs aspect that you have going on. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so me and my twin brother started Backyard Bird Dog. We don't have as much time to put into it. We'd love to put more out there. It's the time of year I need to be doing it, but just like everybody else, I've got tons of hobbies. But really, the concept is as I got into this, when I went after to find a Griffon, just like he did a poodle pointer, man, it brought me back from my coon hunting days of just the dramatics of finding the right breeder, of the price. Don't go buy a non-hunting breed, do this, do that. And I threw my hands up and I was like, God, that's aggravating. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go find a dog and I'll make it a dog. And I dang sure did. Now, I learned a lot, don't get me wrong. And there's great reputable breeders and you should buy dogs in that direction. I'm 100% for that. But some people, are different. And that's what I started coming across. I started coming across a lot of people that wanted to get into this sport, and they're asking question about money, and the first response you get on Facebook or whatever is, well, if you've got to ask that question, then you don't need to get in this sport. Well, sorry, but it's a good question to ask. It's a good budget sport to be in. You need to know what you're up against. I mean, the truth is, you spend $2,000 to $10,000 on a dog, you get ready, and then by the time you're into it, you're $5,000 more on equipment. So I love it when people ask and prepare and all, because it's an expensive sport. I mean, all in all, dog food, $100 a bag. I mean, this is what we do. So a lot of that is kind of what encouraged us to get into trying to just help people. And what we're about is, if go use pro trainers, go use guys that'll help you with force fetch. You don't have to do it all yourself. Go talk to people, read books. I mean, my first book was by George DaCosta, and I still go back and reference that book. I mean, you've got to have all the resources. So that's kind of the reason we started it. You can take a dog, and form that dog in your backyard. Some people may disagree. That's fine, but you can do that, because what it takes is obedience. It takes communication, and those parameters can really make a great bird dog. Now, a bird does need bird contact. A bird dog does need bird contact. It does need professional help at times. If you've got a stubborn dog that needs some help, you might have to reach out to someone. And if you've got a really good trainer, they're training you as well. And so there's so much that you can do in your yard. Like I said, I'm in the kingdom of quail. We got tons of hunting, but I live in town, and my wife prefers that. So that's what we're going to do. But I'm not going to give up my hobby because of that. You can take, if you in the field, if you have a good disciplined bird dog, it goes a lot farther than an undisciplined great hunting dog. And I believe that, because you can form that dog and help that dog, and really, articulate that dog to find birds. So that's the main reason we did it. We love to talk through people about breeds, warn them, give them a heads up. Hey, you're getting a Griffon, you better get ready for this. Or, a poodle pointer, or, a setter. I've been around so many different breeds, and I get to, touch a lot of different breeds, which is really cool. But I can help advise people. So that's what we did. We want to give people that approach where you can take a dog and go to public land and try to find birds. The key is try, but you can do that. I've got buddies up in Atlanta that have great hunting dogs, and they have multiple dogs. But they're also either going out west or going up north or coming down here throughout the year and using these dogs. So really, that's what we did, trying to just help people. And down here, it goes back to, people don't always understand that concept, but down here, you don't have a lot of access to private land. I mean, right now, land's going from $6,000 to $8,000 an acre here. Good luck trying to get 100 acres to go train your bird dog on. And you're not going to raise wild quail that way. You can do put out hunts. So we do that. Something else I do is I keep quail here at my house. I wouldn't advise that. You might want to run it by your wife before you do it. But I ask for forgiveness a lot. Hence, I have an English setter in a 2-bay kennel, and it's a 2-bay kennel because I have an open kennel, and there's probably gonna be another dog in there at some point. But I have a pigeon coop. I have a quail coop in my front yard, and my neighbors walk their dogs down the road, and I'm the redneck of the neighborhood. But you can do stuff like that. You can take pigeons and get homing pigeons and go out, get access to some land, or do something. I mean, heck, go to a park. I don't care, and train your dog. And then when you get back, fingers crossed, your pigeons are back. And so that's kind of it. It's just kind of, it's a hobby for us. There's no money. Anything that has a backyard bird dog logo on it is paid for by the Lawrence brothers, and we give it out. We don't. We're not in the sales business. So we started it too, to be able to go out out west and walk together and hunt together. We were trapped by social media and everything else out there, and more people just need to get out and walk and talk about life. And so that's another piece of it that we do.
I love it. I love it, man. And if anybody has any questions for you, I mean, if anybody wants to contact you for advice, can they? And where can they do that?
Yeah, we love it. I don't have as many followers as you. I was looking at your followers, like, yeah, that's a lot. It takes a lot of time, but yeah, Backyard Bird Dog. We have an Instagram page. We have a Facebook page. We try to update them. A lot of it might have our kids, but we really want to show you that what we're doing. You can reach us through there is probably the best way. I respond to everybody. I talk through a lot. I constantly. I'm just, if I see something out there online, I reach out to people and say, hey, I'm here to help. Let me help you. I mean, the discussion about kennels is probably one of the biggest ones that I talk through. What kennel are you using? Well, what are you going to do with the kennel? Is it going to go in the back of your truck or is it going inside? Because there's a big difference there. Do you want to save a couple $100 here, or do you want to, does every person in town need to see that gunner kennel in the back of your truck? What are we after here? So it's those type things, man. And I think it's fun. I think it's like going to like a podcast like this is so informative. Like, just listen to podcasts. Like, and yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there. That's the reason I like George's stuff. There's a lot of protective nature over how to train bird dogs. I'm in one piece of where we're at on the bobwhite quail plantations. I mean, we're old school dog trainers. I mean, to the T, through the coon hunting world, we are old school. And if someone tells you they're old school, you know exactly what they mean on old school. Not everybody's like that. So you got to fill that out too, of how do we want to train this dog? If there's different force fetch techniques, there's different e-collar techniques. I'm a firm believer in an e-collar if it's done the right way and conditioned the right way. There's a lot of people that aren't, but a lot of people come to me and I'm like, what's your dog doing? And we have a ton of English cockers. Pretty much, if you live in Thomasville, Georgia, your wife drives a Suburban with an English cocker up in the dashboard. I've come to figure that out. Every family needs an English cocker, at least one of them, to figure out that they don't need an English cocker. Pretty much, but that's one of the first things. Well, Jamie, I see your dog. I walk both mine around the neighborhood. They're well obedience trained, and they say, "Well, Jamie, your dog's not pulling." I'm like, "Well, let's talk about e-collars. Let's talk about what have you done? Have you done anything? The Wonder Lead. Let's go. These things are just ways you can help people because a lot of people just don't know. A lot of people just look online. They go to the Bass Pro Shop and they buy stuff, treats, food, whatever it may be for their dogs, and then we try to reel all that back in. And I introduce them to different companies with different products, with great reviews, with video testimonies, and then podcasts like this too.
No, I love that, man. And that's what makes this community so much fun is guys like you out there trying to help other guys as well. Because I mean, being in the upland game niche, it's a very small community. A lot of people know a lot of people from everywhere. I've come to find out, and it takes a village to make it work. A lot of these guys are out there, a lot of new guys out there who need mentors, and something that you're doing like that, makes a huge difference in a community like ours, and that's what really stands out to me in the upland game industry is that you being able to give back to the community and help these people be able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm just not a critic. I mean, these dogs are dogs, and they're going to do their thing, and they're going to mess up. The first time you put them on a perform, my brother tested. I'll tell him he's going to watch this. It'd be funny, but he tested it in NAVDA. He's done some testing, and man, he had his dog ready, and I'm sitting there like, this dog's going to really mess up because it's way too good. Like, it is way too good. Sure enough, I mean, he had messed up bad, and he was disappointed. And I'm like, well, are you having fun? Well, yeah. I'm like, there you go.
There it
Like,
is.
you better keep it fun, because if you're going to test, it's funny how we train and we train and we train, and you show up to a test and there's 30 people there. Well, I mean, my dog's not going to do good around 30 people. It doesn't even know 30 people. Like, I mean, come on. Like, we can condition these dogs, but also it's, I asked him too. I said, well, your dog does everything to find a wild bird. We know that. We've seen it. It's proven. That's the game. That's the game. The rest is just fine tuning and making these dogs better. And so, that's the thing. I watch a lot of guys, and I see how critical they are, and they're like, well, they always turn back to, and this is, I'll go on a little bit of a tangent because I think it's important in the world we're in and how it can mess this up for us. I see a lot of trainers these days. They're out and they start talking about the handler and the mistakes these dogs have been through before they get to them, or this client's calling me once a week and wanting to know how the dog's doing and all. I'm like, well, listen, it's a business. You're in it for money. Get ready. I go to work every day and I have clients that call me about banking needs. It's the same thing. Have a personality. Like, come on. They're putting a lot of money and faith into you. It's the truth. A 2-year-old dog makes 10 better years. So, at some point, I'm like, just get over it. Don't Nobody cares. Just train the dog. Let's go. It's the really good ones that I've met and been around are the quiet ones. I go to a dog trainer my dog, my Griffon's been to one, and I had some great trainers and they were really good. And I'm like, be honest with me. Tell me, do you think, if a trainer tells me my dog sucks, I'm going to work twice as hard at home to prove them wrong. And just tell me. Don't say it'll never do this. Don't ever, because it's just not true. It may never do it, but that's for me and my dog to decide. And I don't want to be critical about tons of trainers because there's just a few. But when I see them, I'm like, man, you're not doing our sport any justice to the negativity. We need as much positivity behind this. And what that drives, it drives people to appreciate it. It drives people to encourage to get in the right way and be conservative about it. And so I can be a little bit of that's probably the only time I'll get on tangents is I just can't stand when someone calls me and they're like, I went to this trainer and they just said my dog's not very good and all. I'm like, well, it might not be as good as what's in their kennel, but is it to reel all this in real quick? What do you want out of your dog? My first thing is a family dog, an obedient dog. Okay, I want my dog great around children. I want my dog great in the vehicle. I check all these boxes before I ever get to will my dog hold a point, you know, shot to fall, retrieve, all these things that are very difficult because this, we're putting a versatile dog, we're pushing and pulling in so many different directions. We're like, no, stay here. No, go get the bird. No, I don't want you to move right now because this other dog's not moving. You're being way too hard on that bird. Why'd you pick it up so hard? Think about all these commands. And then at the end of the day, Jamie pulls into Thomasville, Georgia. I've got to come home and my 5-year-old's hanging all over my dog, or her dog. I take that back. It's not my. So you gotta have a little bit of humility behind this and give the dog a lot of credit. And so I think some trainers that I come in contact with just needs to take a deep breath and realize this is a business. If you're not in it for the customer service aspect of it, if you're not giving back in that direction, you may do good, but you could do a lot better if you're just being nice and making relationships and friends, because that's what life's about.
Right. I mean, that's the biggest thing is being able to, like you said, going back to, if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it? Right?
You're
And
right. You're right.
it's all about being able to have those experiences and having, like you said, that customer service as well in that aspect when it comes to guys who are doing it in the business. It all comes back to being able to make the memories, having fun in it, and what you're looking for in a dog. Like you said, for you, family dog first, everything second to that. And like you said, everybody's gonna have a different aspect on that, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to having fun at the end of the day because that's why we do it. Which, if not, then why are we doing it? At the end of the day, it's too expensive.
You're right. And you have to, I'm from South Georgia. We come with a lot of Southern hospitality. So you have to, there's a lot of, different areas of the country that people are just different and people carry themselves differently. So I have to also remember that just because someone said something that might have offended me didn't mean it just wasn't straightforward from a buddy of mine from Michigan. I mean, that's just different. we're very hospitality, but traveling in the world of upland and coming across dog owners when I'm traveling, even public land out west. I've been, it's awesome. It is. Most people have that same mentality. You'll come across every once in a while. You'll come up across someone, but I tell you, my public land here, a lot of it is open rifle season. So I'll be walking along and I'll look up and a guy's in an orange vest with something that will really hurt me, and he's really mad because I've been loud. My dogs have been loud. I probably ruined his afternoon, but so I've been in some pretty tough situations. And I tell you, one of the hardest parts here in the national forest is probably our local drug users love to facilitate our public land. And so I don't know how it is out there where you are at, but you gotta be on guard at all times. I mean, you never know who you're going to come across, and I have come across some people and you always you gotta be careful. So
Love it.
um,
It's true.
that's probably my biggest fear is other people in the woods. It's not really animals down
Very
here.
much so.
Besides snakes, snakes are terrible here.
Oh, I believe it where you're at. No, that's awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun and getting to know you, Jamie, having you on the podcast to share more about your experiences and what you're doing within the upland game community and what you're doing for fun with it. But before we close, I always ask the same question to each member of the podcast before they leave, and that's, do you have any advice that you'd give upcoming hunters or hunters who have been in the field for who knows how long? You can answer that however you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest advice is ask for help. I mean, ask and use your resources. Don't be scared to ask. I think and do the research thing. I mean, boots on the ground. We talked about that. You got to put the steps in. You can't just go and onyx this stuff and or call and ask for hunting spots. I mean, right now I'm getting ready to go out. We'll be out in Nebraska somewhere. I love to say that. I love how because everybody's so protective. Well, I haven't called one person. I'll probably actually ask you the same questions at some point. I don't call. I don't ask where I should hunt. I want to figure it all out on my own. I don't want any assistance to that. But what I do want to know is I want to know how many bugs are they? How hot is it going to be? How do my dog, do I need to boot my dogs? These things, that's what I want to know what I'm up against if I'm going to be camping and these things. But I think your resources, I actually I'll hold it up. George DaCosta. I mean, you've got, Ronnie Smith, some of these books, the Smith guys, some of these books, these podcasts, go use those resources and reach out. I mean, I've reached out to George many times. He's the man when it comes to wirehair pointing griffons. I've reached out and asked him silly questions, and he always responds. He takes time to make relationships with people, which goes farther. Have fun with it. Here in our area, a lot of the big bird dog trainers, if you get into the pointer world or the German short hair world, these trials, you go and you start watching, look at the photos, and you're like, oh man, that's the trainer, or never even heard of this guy. Those are the guys that you need to go talk to because these guys, just like Smith Kennels, I mean, these guys are aging out of our sport and they have so much information of how the dog works and how to work a dog without technology and these things that goes back to it like the Wonder Lead and these things. That's probably the biggest advice that I could give anybody is use your resources and ask your elders. And then, to sum it up, don't be scared. Get in your car, drive to Kansas, do your research, and go put boots on the ground. If someone tells you in areas there's no birds, there's probably birds there. I've learned that. But you gotta go find them. You can't sit at home on the couch like you mentioned. You gotta get in your car and just go explore. Don't be scared. Go out on a limb. That's the biggest thing.
I love it, man. Couldn't have said it
It's
better
not about
myself.
it's not about killing.
No,
That's the biggest thing. Not about killing birds. It's about finding, locating birds. A lot of people, when I go hunting for these bobwhites, the wild ones, we're not killing. Why kill something when I could go find it again? And
that's
and
right.
I mean that. So always keep that in mind too. If you're chasing numbers, go to the put out hunt. I got a good one. You can kill a bunch of birds. You'll have good meal, or unfortunately, I'll pick on the duck hunters. Go duck hunting. Go find a duck hole, a wood duck hole.
That's right. No, I love it, man, and that's why I asked this question because all you guys always have great advice, and it's always fun to be able to learn from you guys. And hopefully, I know it's helped a lot of guys out there, whether they've been experienced or new upcoming hunters. It's always great advice, like you said. Use your resources that you have. Go out, have some fun, boots on the ground, and don't chase the numbers. The numbers will come if they come, but at the end of the day, we're out there to have fun. So I love it, man. I appreciate your time and your willingness to come onto the podcast. And we thank
Well,
you.
thank you for what you're doing. It goes a long way for our sport and the industry, and that means a lot. And come down to South Georgia. We'll go chase a coon at night and some bobwhites, and maybe even look for that elusive woodcock. Or we can go fly fishing for some trout and some reds, and do the really good stuff, because those are a lot. That's the easier at times. But you could do it all in one day here.
I'm
We can
good
go
with
chase
that.
tarpon in one day. So that's what's cool about down here.
I love it, man. And you always have a seat here at Bird Camp Radio. And if you ever come out to Utah, definitely hit us up.
We're coming. It just may take me a couple of years.
Hey, that's all right. You just let us know.
But the drive's probably 20 somewhat hours a
That's
day.
true. That is true. But we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone, for listening to the Bird Camp Radio podcast. I hope you enjoyed episode 41 with Jamie Lawrence as much as we did. But before you go, we need to release Jamie's time for the rapid fire around the campfire game. Jamie, your time was 46.70 seconds, which puts you in 20th place in the overall rankings. Thank you again, everyone. As you already know, you can find us at Bird Camp Radio on social media at Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Bird Camp Radio. As well, if you want to watch this, you can find us on YouTube. And then if you want to listen, you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you again for listening. Until next time. You've been listening to Bird Camp Radio, where the high pines, marsh valleys, sagebrush seas, and shelf rock ledges always call us back. Until next time, keep your dogs close, your shot true, and your campfire stories ready to share. We'll see you back at camp. Don't miss out on the next episode, where we'll host our next guest on the podcast. You don't want to miss this one. Thank you.